This is the Art Marketing Minute with Eric Rhodes, author of the Amazon best-selling book, Make More Money Selling Your Art. In the Marketing Minute, we answer your questions to help your art career. Brought to you by artmarketing.com, the place to go to learn more about marketing. Now, here's your host, Art Magazine publisher, Eric Rhodes.
Thank you, Jim Kipping, and thank you for joining us today. I am here. My goal is to eliminate the idea of the starving artist. So let's get right to today's questions. Well, here's a question from Joan Barnum. Now, I normally don't use last names, and I don't know where Joan is from, but in this case, it's relevant because she says, thanks so much for your podcast and for the Marketing Minute. I tune in every week, and I've learned so much value from both. I've been learning what I can about selling my art, and I've been trying to establish some kind of online presence. But I discovered recently, however, that there is a well-known watercolor artist out there whose name is very similar to mine. She's Joanna Barnum, and I'm Joan Barnum. I wonder if it will make it difficult for people to find me online, and if I should consider changing the name under which I do business, reverting to my maiden name, for instance. I'm just in the beginning stages of the process, and so I'm going to make this sort of move. Now would be the time. Well, I couldn't agree more. It's a great question. It happens more than you think. I can think of several. What comes to mind is Scott Pryor, and then there's Scott W. Pryor, both artists. There's Charles White, and there's Charles H. White, both artists. And heck, there's even another Eric Rhodes, who was, well, an adult film star. That wasn't me, thankfully. Yikes. Anyway, he's dead. I'm not. I might be after I mention that. Anyway, if you're already established with the name and then you discover somebody else has got the name, well, then you got a little bit of a problem. And if you're starting out, though, this is a good time to avoid confusion and brand yourself under a name where there'll be no confusion. Now, I grew up in radio, and we used to use stage names all the time, and you might want to invent a name that sends a signal of confidence to your buyer. Some people pick names that are about their brand. You know, like if you were a spy, you could be Roger Danger, or, you know, remember Johnny Quest? He was an adventurer on the cartoons. Richie Rich. But seriously, I'd probably go out there and come up with a name that really works for you. Now, I wouldn't call yourself Monet, though there are people out there who've done it. There's an actress whose name is Monet. I wonder if it's real. I doubt it. But anyway, come up with something distinctive. Stage names are pretty common, and there are a lot of artists actually who use stage names. And if your maiden name works, it's great. But if it's hard to say, or it's hard to spell, or hard to read, like if your maiden name is Rabinowitz, you might want to do something easier. Like I have this friend who's a radio person, and her name was Rabinowitz. And, you know, how do you spell it? So she changed it to Robbins. And you might do something like that. Or you could just be distinctive by saying, your middle initial. The other thing you've got to your advantage is that you want a name that's memorable, and you have a name that's memorable, right? Who is memorable? P.T. Barnum is memorable. Why not be L. Barnum or P.T. Barnum or some variation on that? Or there may be, you play off of that, Linda Barnum, like P.T. Barnum, the greatest show on earth. You can have some fun with that. So give it some thought. Anyway, it's a good time. Remember, you are a brand. We invent names for brands, and why not do it for artist brands? Now, I think authentic and real is best, but in a case like yours where there's going to be confusion and the names are close, you might want to consider distinguishing yourself with a different first name at least. And don't forget, there is some gold in that name Barnum, because you want something that people remember, because everyday names like Jones and Smith and so on are not very memorable. But if you say, introduce yourself, or your website says, hey, it's Linda Barnum, like P.T. Barnum, and then they're trying to remember who you are, they're going to remember that. Here's the next question from Adam in Los Angeles. Adam says, I've noticed everybody's moved over to Instagram from Facebook. How can I get a lot of followers so I can sell more art? And Adam, well, you're asking the wrong question. Not to embarrass you, but the question should be, how can I sell more art? Instagram is a tactic, just like a magazine ad or an email is a tactic. You want to start with a strategy. How are you going to differentiate? Who is going to be your audience? What is the avatar of your audience? The avatar is like, who's the average person who buys your art and what are they like? Explain and understand that avatar. Like we know the avatar of the people who come to the plein air convention, and there's a lot of this similar type of people, so we tend to talk to them. So think about that, because you want to think about who you're trying to sell art to. Now, most people on Instagram and Facebook are misusing it, and they're really talking about themselves a lot, and they're not really talking about the business aspects. And so you want to think about that. Now, I'm going to do something very special at the Plein Air Convention this year. I'm going to do a morning on Instagram in my Art Marketing Bootcamp, and that'll be worth the price of admission alone, believe me. So I went to the world's top experts. I got their tips. I'm going to explain them, plus I'm going to share some of my own. And there's not enough time here because I'm going to spend about an hour just on that, and probably an hour isn't enough. But bottom line with Instagram is it's about engaging people. It's about commenting often, smart commenting, and those kinds of things. Engagement and commenting will help people follow you, also liking other people. But there's a whole lot more to it, a lot of strategy behind it. So I didn't mean to be snide by saying it's the wrong question, but you want to be thinking about multiple pillars. You don't want all of your business relying on one thing. Like Facebook has lost 60 million people recently. So what if your business was based on Facebook? Would it affect you? It might. So if your business is affected by Instagram at one time, and then you have to reinvent yourself another time, you should be doing multiple pillars anyway. You should be having a lot of different variations on the way that you market yourself. Well, this has been the Art Marketing Minute with me, Eric Rhodes. My goal in life is to eliminate the idea of the starving artist and to help your dreams actually come true. So if you want to submit questions, simply email eric@artmarketing.com. And to learn more about marketing ideas, you can visit artmarketing.com. Thanks for listening.